Mercury in Pisces is a very interesting placement, and I'll explain it in a fairly simple way. The first resonance to comprehend in order to understand the significations of Mercury in Pisces is the fact that Mercury is a planet of intellect. That's its root signification. And Pisces is a very thoughtful, educational type of sign. So this is a harmonious resonance between the planet and the sign, and it produces a fairly good result. What is that result? It's really quite simple because the resonance is quite simple. The result of Mercury in Pisces is you get a native who's indicated to be intelligent. The kind of intelligence is interesting. And let's just begin by saying that Pisces type of intelligence is thoughtful, first of all. So you have a thoughtful type of intellectual when Mercury is in Pisces. Now, that by itself is one thing, but let's consider the next important resonance and then hold the two of them together and see what happens. So the next resonance to bring to your attention is that Mercury is the interactive planet. It's the planet that communicates and exchanges. So it's interactive, whereas Pisces is the introspective sign. So this is not a harmonious resonance. It's a disharmonious resonance. It's a clash between the symbolisms. Because in order to interact, you have to express. But Pisces isn't a sign that likes to express. Pisces is a sign that likes to reflect and introspect. So since this is a disharmonious resonance, you expect some trouble out of the significations. So one of the things that you'll get is that the native with Mercury and Pisces finds communication difficult. But be careful when you think about this, because remember, the first thing is that Pisces is smart and Mercury is smart. So when you think of a person that has a hard time communicating, you typically think, well, I guess they're not so bright. But that's not the case with Mercury and Pisces. With Mercury and Pisces, the problem is that they're very intelligent. The things that they want to communicate are very complex and sophisticated. And it's very difficult to communicate those things, so they feel ineffective in their communication. They'll wait for a long time, hoping that they'll find the right word or phrase, whereas most people listening to them don't have the patience to deal with that. So the kind of words that come out of their mouth are kind of blurry and unclear and uncertain. It's not because they're not intelligent. It's because they're quite intelligent. And in order to express the kind of things that are on the mind of a Mercury Pisces person, it's not easy. So that's one thing. One difficult thing about Mercury and Pisces is the native tends to have a hard time expressing, a hard time picking the right words. However, it's not all bad to be introspective and interactive at the same time, because people are people. So if you're introspective to yourself, you actually get a head start on understanding other people. So one of the classical indications of Mercury in Pisces is, here's a person who understands other people. They might not be able to express themselves very well, but they understand people well. And it's a kind of thing like an empathy, an intuition, understanding what other people think, understanding what other people mean. This makes it increasingly difficult to feel understood. I understand what this person means, but this person has no idea what I mean. So they make very good listeners. They're sort of sympathetic or empathetic naturally. So what I want to do now with this is really, actually, honestly, the whole dynamic of Mercury and Pisces can be explained with just these two resonances. Of course, there's a lot of little ornamentations and details that we can work with in interpreting Mercury and Pisces. Different permutations of these themes, but the basic essential themes of Mercury and Pisces are pretty much explained already. What I just want to do now is put the two of these together. So if we put the two of these together, what do we get? You get an assistive intellect, not an assertive intellect. But if the intellect or Mercury is in Pisces, they become quite empathetic, number one, and number two, they have difficulty asserting or expressing. So although they have the intelligence to be number one, they usually wind up being 1B instead of 1. They usually wind up being assistive or adjunctive to the star or to the leader, rather than being the leader themselves. So a person with Mercury and Pisces is very well suited to be helpful, to be of service, to be servile even. If you had a servant that was smarter than you, but their whole life is dedicated to you, that's very Mercurial Pisces. So another interesting topic is, well, wait, Mercury in Pisces isn't supposed to be Mercury's debilitation? And it doesn't seem that bad. So yes, this is Mercury's debilitation, and yes, Mercury's debilitation is not particularly difficult. Not every planet is affected by its dignity to the same extent, especially a planet like Mercury, which tends to always remain in the middle of everything and always be balanced. The exaltation and debilitation don't make it that much different. They're not outstandingly difficult, as it is with some other planets that are more prone to be extreme. Remember, the essence of a debilitation sign is you get challenged about something. The planet gets challenged about one of its qualities. And it's the same as what happens in an exaltation sign. The planet gets challenged about one or more of its qualities. The difference between exaltation and debilitation is the planet is likely to succeed and it gets assistance from the sign. It's likely to succeed in that challenge when it's in exaltation, but with debilitation it's likely to fail because it's not getting assistance from the sign. So what is it with Mercury that makes it challenged? It's really that Mercury likes to talk, but Pisces is water. And that's the next thing that I just want to end with you today. Why is there debilitation going on with Mercury and Pisces if it's not really extreme? The thing is that Mercury really prefers air. Mercury really prefers air because air allows Mercury to be articulate and dexterous. Pisces is water. So that's the main challenge. Mercury is not comfortable in any water sign. In fact, if you go back and watch Mercury in Scorpio or Mercury in Cancer, they're actually worse. Well, the lineup of how many disharmonious resonances there are is worse in Cancer, and especially in Scorpio, than it is in Pisces. So then why is it that Scorpio is not identified as Mercury's debility sign? It's because in addition to the water challenging the air of Mercury, Scorpio at least has clarity because it's sharp. It's ruled by Mars. Pisces has blurriness to it. It's underwater with Jupiter, who's also of this intellectual nature that doesn't really jump to conclusions about things. So Mercury in Pisces gets blurry and gets delayed. And that's what makes it hard challenges Mercury to perform. And that's the essence of a debilitation sign, really. It's not necessary that a debilitation sign is always the worst. Like for the moon. We found that the moon is really... You might say the moon has got more challenge being in Capricorn than it does being in Scorpio. But it's debilitated in Scorpio. It's because the debilitation sign is not necessarily worse. It's just that it's taking a key element of the planet and challenging it, taunting it. Now what we do in these videos with the planets and the signs is I show you a consistent technique that you can use for any planet and any sign. And the technique is very simple. You look for where the planet symbolizes something that's very, very similar to what the sign symbolizes. And once you find that, you assess whether or not the planet and the sign are harmonious about that thing or whether they're antithetical about that thing. The dissonant resonance reveals what's complex or difficult for the native. The harmonious resonance, on the other hand, indicates what's easy, what comes natural, what's an inherent strength for the native. What I'm teaching you really is the method of how to do astrological interpretation by going down into the engine of the symbolism and comparing the parts. The actual interpretation that you should give is going to be individualized per the individual chart. So if you have person A with the moon in Scorpio and person B with the moon in Scorpio, it's not going to be exactly the same interpretation. Because person B's moon might have an aspect from something and person A's moon doesn't, etc., 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 etc. But what I'm showing you in the videos is the backbone of what a planet and a sign symbolizes. And once you understand that backbone, you modify it based on the circumstances, the extraneous circumstances that are affecting an individual chart. So I hope you really like this system, not just this one video, but all the videos that we do on the planets and the signs. We'll do them all. And I hope you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of those. And I hope to see you around soon. Thank you.